is Bikaji Foods International, the management joining us today. Obviously, we have the Chief Operating Officer, Manoj Verma. We talk about the festive season demand update, raw material environment and expansion into newer markets. Thanks a lot, Mr. Verma, for joining in. You know, in the third quarter conference call, you had said that you are expecting 14 to 15% sort of volume growth in the third quarter for your ethnic snacks business. The first half of this year, your volumes have been a shade under the double-digit mark. For the full year, what targets do you have? And what you had said after the conference call, has that actually played out in real life?
Yeah, so we are staying exactly for what we said. So quarter three, would be a good quarter in terms of our volume growth and would be around for what we said. Overall, if we look at it, our full year performance, it will be a double digit or a close to double digit growth, volume growth in terms of what we say.
All right, Mr. Manoj Verma, your revenue mix heavily skewed towards ethnic snacks, and you've spoken about growing in mid-teens to high teens in the third quarter. But for the full year and maybe a 1 year ahead period, how do you see this revenue mix evolving? Do you expect some of the other categories to go faster?
So the biggest part is the ethnic snacks, which is about 70%, which comes from the ethnic snacks itself. And that's where the most of the focus is. Other than this, sweets is also doing extremely well. But again, it's more of a seasonal product. And the efforts there are to how do we make it round the year kind of a stuff. So over a period of time, you will see that sweets will also be performing well and will gain the share of business of our entire portfolio.
Manoj, you've mentioned that you continue to target, I beg your pardon, what kind of revenue share are you targeting from your core and focus markets going forward, Manoj?
So core would be around 12-13%. So growth, that's the growth. So core currently, if you look at, is upwards of 70%. This would come down to around 68% kind of a share of business in our stuff. And the focus would move towards 18%. The rest would be exports and other markets.
All right, focus moves to 18%. Just to reconfirm your guidance, because earlier you had said that you are looking at low teens volume growth every year. This year you will be doing close to double-digit volume growth. So that's a decline from what you had guided earlier, right?
So volume growth, of course, would be, but so what we said more on the revenue growth would be mid-teens, and what we said, we'll stay on that stuff.
Okay, mid-teens revenue growth, and margins in the second quarter were 15.4%. That was a 5-quarter high. That continues to stay. Last year you did margins of what? Close to 12.5%. This year you would be around the 15% mark?
Exactly. So inclusive of PLI, this would be the margins we'll have.
All right. What about, your increased investment in the US subsidiary? And my colleague here, Ritu, traces her roots to Lucknow, whereas I come from Bikaner. Bikaner is the land of bhujia, and now you are moving to UP as well. So both on US and UP, if you could give us your sense.
So let me take your first question first on US. So US are continued investment and focus on international or exports business. That's the kind of investment what we have made in our US subsidiary. This is primarily on our stocks, the credits what we give to the business partners there and in the sales. So that's what is the investment, and this was must or is essential to grow this business in the US market. That's the point of this investment made. On the UP stuff, UP is the largest consumption market for traditional ethnic snacks, and that's where we are focusing. Keeping that in mind and walking the talk on, as we say, that our investment in marketing. So earlier, a few months back, we rolled out a campaign for our core markets, and the tagline was Bhujia Ho to Bikaji. And for UP, we've roped in Pankaj Tripathi and with a tagline of Kya Baat Hai Ji. So this is what it is. It is a 4-month campaign which kicked off on the 1st of December and will be there for 4 months.
So how much does your revenue come from UP right now, and how much do you expect this to grow?
See, it's a slow burn. When you make these marketing investment, they are for future. So it'll be very difficult or unfair to expect that over a month kind of growth if we look at. But yes, what we see is that the UP would be delivering 25% growth year on year, or in fact maybe more. That's what we're looking at.
But given your, UP growth aside, your large investment in your US subsidiary, exports still about 6.5% of your sales. Some tailwinds from, the weakness in the rupee. What sort of growth are you expecting in those markets?
So if you look at Q1, Q2, and even now YTD Q3 also, if you look at, so exports would be growing by far high in that stuff. So there's quite a momentum. As we spoke earlier as well, that we have made investment. I mean, while this is one capital investment, other than this, we moved our head sales who was India head sales is moved to US, and we'll be looking after US and Canada market, where we see a huge potential. And we would be, putting our might behind to build those markets.
So can you give us a number? 6.5% of sales is where you're at for exports. How much do you want that to go to?
So let me correct. It's not 6.5%. It's between 6.5 to 4%. That's the contribution of export sales.
Sure.
It's a small number. The contribution, if you look at being a small base, will not move as much high, because we expect good growth from our domestic markets as well. But eventually, over a period of time, we see that this would move up to 5% as well. And in terms of growth in exports, we will look at, say, around upwards of 40% growth for next 3-4 years.
All right. Just a final question, Mr. Verma. I'm looking at the promoter stake of the company. December 2024 was 74.98%. March came down to 74.92%. September, 73.92%. Two promoters in particular, Shivratan Agarwal and Deepak Agarwal, have been paring their stake a little bit, about a few basis points every quarter. Does that continue? Is there a promoter block which is likely?
No, that's not. I mean, so this was to create some funds for family office. That was the sole objective of this dilution.
And the family office has created enough funds now? No more selling?
Not for now. I mean, so there's enough and more to invest, and then maybe at a later date, not for now on cards.
All right, take that point. Thank you so much for joining in and giving us clarity on that. We take a short break, come back, more on the markets on the other side.